A man woke up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water when he suddenly heard a woman crying for help outside. Curious, he walked to the window and unexpectedly witnessed a murder. He quickly grabbed his phone to call the police, but at that moment, the lights in his house suddenly turned on. It turned out that his wife had also gotten up for a drink. The man hurried over to turn off the lights, but the killer had already seen this scene. The man quietly climbed onto the balcony to see if the killer had left, only to find the killer counting the floors, seemingly confirming the location of his apartment before walking in this direction. Realizing the situation was bad, the man grabbed a baseball bat and listened carefully to the movement outside the door. After an unknown amount of time, the hallway remained quiet, and the man finally breathed a sigh of relief. The next morning, he stood on the balcony, worried and looking at the crime scene he had witnessed the night before, unsure of what to do. Before leaving, he instructed his wife to take good care of their daughter and not to go out casually. Then, he went downstairs and looked up at his balcony, repeatedly confirming whether the killer could really see him. From that day on, the man seemed to have lost his soul, constantly haunted by the image of the killer. He would be startled by the slightest movement of others. Due to the lack of surveillance in the community, the police were unable to identify the killer's appearance and could not find any clues to the case. They could only investigate the witnesses one by one. However, the people in the community were unwilling to get involved and wanted to avoid trouble. Soon, the case caused a sensation, and the man's community became notorious overnight. To avoid affecting housing prices, the real estate agency issued a confidentiality agreement to each resident, instigating them to sign a petition opposing the police investigation, hoping to settle the matter. It seemed that in the face of housing prices, a human life was insignificant. The man never thought that people's hearts could be so cold and decided to step forward to report the killer. But after writing an anonymous report, he hesitated again. One day, the phone at home suddenly rang, but no one spoke after answering. The man instantly felt uneasy, convinced that it must be the killer calling. The next day, when he got off work, he felt a motorcycle was following him. His nerves immediately tensed, and he subconsciously quickened his pace. This almost scared the police to death. Seeing the man's distracted appearance, the police believed he must know some inside information. At this moment, the man wanted to reveal everything, but the motorcycle ahead was watching him like a tiger eyeing its prey. To avoid being targeted by the killer, he chose to avoid it again, claiming that he had seen nothing. After returning home, the woman downstairs suddenly knocked on the door. Like the man, she had also witnessed the murder that night and received a probing phone call from the killer. She hoped that the man could go to the police station with her to report the case, but the man was afraid of the killer's retaliation and directly drove her away. Little did he know that it was precisely because of his cowardice that he indirectly caused the death of this female neighbor. The woman had just entered the elevator when she felt a chill down her spine. The man behind her looked very much like the killer she had seen that night. She nervously glanced at the elevator and was relieved to see that the man had pressed the button for the first floor. At this point, the floor where the woman lived arrived, and she walked out of the elevator trying to appear calm. Seeing that the man did not follow, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. But just as she was about to open the door to go home, the man suddenly rushed at her from behind.